This is our first lesson on matter. By the end of this lesson, you're going to be able to define matter and distinguish between mass, volume, and density. To start off, matter is anything that has mass and volume. Matter is made up of tiny little things called atoms. You can't see atoms with the naked eye. We use microscopes, special atomic microscopes, to be able to see these things. Atoms combine to make everything up we have in our entire world. Now, matter again is defined as anything that has mass and volume. So how do we measure matter? Well, there are three main ways. The first is mass. Now, the mass of an object is the amount of matter or stuff something is made up of. That stuff can be atoms or anything. The mass does not change if you move an object from one place to another. The mass always stays the same. Mass and weight are not the same. Mass can be measured in grams or kilograms, and you use a triple beam balance or a scale to measure mass. For example, your mass on the moon will be the same, but your weight will be different. Volume is the amount of space that the matter takes up. The unit for volume is liter or milliliter. Volume is measured with a graduated cylinder or a beaker. You will often need to read the meniscus, the curved line that water creates or any liquid creates when it's in a graduated cylinder or a beaker. This must be read at eye level with the graduated cylinder or beaker on a solid, flat surface. Now, if you're measuring the volume of a solid object, a regular sized object with straight sides, you use the formula length times width times height to find the volume. To measure the volume of an irregular object, like a marble or something rounded that does not have straight sides like a book, you'd use the displacement method. The displacement method is a big thing to remember. For the displacement method, you're going to subtract the original amount of where the water is from, once you drop the item in the water, the new measurement of where the water is. And the final answer is the volume of that object. Now, to find the volume of a liquid object, all we have to do is put it in a graduated cylinder or beaker and then read the measurement. If we wanted to find the volume of a Coke or a glass of milk. Here are your questions. Turn these in on the same piece of paper to the class tray by Friday. What are the units of measurement for mass, volume, and density? Take a second and fill that out on a separate piece of paper. For density, density is a measure of how closely packed or tightly packed the atoms are in a substance. If you know the mass of an object and the volume of an object, so if you know how many atoms are in an object and then how much space that object takes up, you can then find out how closely packed the atoms are, which is its density. Density's formula is mass divided by volume. D equals m divided by v. Here are the formulas that you will need to remember. You will not be tested over these actual formulas, but you'll need to be able to calculate on the next slide. Turn these into the class tray as well. Use the formulas given on the previous slide and solve for each. Question 1. The mass is 15 grams. The volume is 3 milliliters. What is the density? Question 2. The volume is unknown. The mass is 330 kilograms. The density is 10 kilograms per liter. Pay attention to the units of measurement. And number 3, the density is 0.5 milligrams per milliliter. The volume is 16 milliliters. What is the mass? When you've completed the questions, you turn them into the class tray by Friday so I know you've done your notes. Please make sure all the notes are filled in up to this point.